The world is loud. Words rush at you from every direction. Opinions, advice, arguments, always competing, always pressing. Yet history's greatest warriors understood something the modern mind often forgets. Power does not roar. Power whispers. And sometimes the sharpest weapon a human can wield is not a sword but silence. In feudal Japan, Miyamoto Musashi, one of the most revered swordsmen, wrote in his Bushidō, "Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. Never seek to lead others. Regard nothing as precious." What strikes the modern reader is not only his discipline but the deliberate quietness of his path. Musashi moved with calculated stillness, observing everything before acting. His silence was not emptiness, it was awareness incarnate. Silence in this sense was never passive. It was a form of presence, a strategy. Every word restrained, every gesture measured became a signal of control. To the untrained eye, it may have seemed aloof or cold, but for Musashi and the samurai, it was strength beyond the reach of noise and distraction. Consider Takumi, a contemporary figure living in a city that never sleeps. He was a rising executive, always in meetings, always on, drowning in constant chatter and opinions. One evening, after yet another failed negotiation, Takumi recalled a lesson from his grandfather, who had studied martial arts. Before speaking, understand what silence tells you. Takumi began experimenting. In conversations, he paused longer than usual, allowing silence to linger. At work, he stopped explaining himself unnecessarily. Slowly, he noticed a shift. People began to respect his presence more. Decisions were deferred until he spoke. His calm, deliberate quietness created space for strategy rather than reaction. He was, unknowingly, practicing the same principle Musashi had centuries before. Silence sharpens clarity and commands authority. But silence is not easy. The mind craves expression. Emotions demand release. Social norms push for validation. For the samurai, training in silence was rigorous. Zen meditation, solitary walks, and disciplined reflection forced the warrior to confront the self in stillness. It was here, in the absence of distraction, that insight arose. Silence became a mirror, revealing fear, desire, and distraction. Those who mastered it could act decisively because they were no longer enslaved to impulse. Words unspoken were not wasted energy. They were strategic tools, reserved for moments of consequence. Takumi in his office mirrored this daily. Before responding to emails, he paused. Before answering colleagues, he observed the situation fully. The internal struggle was real, the temptation to react, to justify, to dominate conversations, but he held. And in that holding, he discovered a deeper authority. Musashi often fought not only with the sword but with his mind. Opponents, unprepared for the calm stillness he embodied, faltered before the first strike. Silence disoriented. Silence observed. Silence revealed weakness without a word. In our modern world, silence operates in the same way. When we refrain from reactive speech, when we allow observation to guide action, we gain a subtle power. Others reveal their intentions before we commit ours. Takumi noticed that during board meetings, those who were accustomed to dominating conversation underestimated him when he refused to react immediately. They revealed assumptions, errors, and opportunities while he remained calm, silent, and fully present. Silence is not only about restraint, it is about systems. The samurai cultivated small, daily practices to maintain this state, waking early, meditating, performing chores mindfully, walking alone to reflect. These minor, non-negotiable routines built a presence that was impervious to chaos. Takumi began his own version. Each morning, before checking his phone, he sat in silence. He reviewed the day in quiet reflection, noting what was essential and what was noise. These small actions compounded, forging a mental discipline that could not be rushed. Months passed. The man who had once spoken to be heard now spoke when it mattered most. Silence had transformed him, but not through avoidance. It was active, deliberate, and precise. His identity had shifted from a reactive participant in life to a measured observer and strategist. In the same way, the samurai understood that mastery was not always visible in action. The strength of silence often manifests before, during, and after the conflict. It is the invisible force that shapes outcomes long before swords clash. The world will always tempt you with noise, opinions, distractions, urgencies. But the lesson of the samurai endures. Restraint, presence, and silence are not weaknesses. They are weapons. A sharp mind, a calm heart, and the courage to remain quiet can cut deeper than any blade. Musashi did not write his teachings for spectacle. They were meant to cultivate a life of precision, mastery, and inner authority. Today, we can carry the same edge. The quiet is not empty. It is where strength, clarity, and wisdom are born. And when you step into that silence, fully aware, fully present, you will discover a power that the world can never take from you. No calls to action, no hype, just reflection, presence, and the quiet intensity of wisdom that transcends centuries.